What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in. I'm really excited about last night's game, of course. Mikal Bridges, game-winning shot in overtime. 33 points for our boy Mikal Bridges. Jalen Brunson is out with a sprained ankle. But the good news is we have a lot of people on this Knicks team that is stepping up their game in replacement of Mikal Bridges. And we're going to talk about it all here on Knicks Media, live on Bleacher Report right now. So make sure you guys download the Bleacher Report app and follow me here on the great BR app. Now, the New York Knicks are on a West Coast trip, and the West Coast trip got off to a very rough start with the Knicks, of course, losing to the Los Angeles Lakers and by suffering a bad injury to Jalen Brunson. Now, the New York Knicks suffered back-to-back loss against both LA teams. First loss was against the Los Angeles Lakers, a thrilling game for the Knicks. Unfortunately, Jalen Brunson goes down with an injury, lose in overtime. Back-to-back game, they have to go up against the Clippers the day after that, and the Knicks didn't really know how to adjust really without Jalen Brunson. And then the next two games, the Knicks were able to dominate the Sacramento Kings on the road and then get a thrilling overtime victory last night against the Portland Trail Blazers, and I'm excited to talk about it. The Knicks have a game on Saturday against the Golden State Warriors, which is going to be prime time. And that's going to be a revenge game because the Knicks almost was able to beat the Golden State Warriors last week at MSG, but Steph Curry went off in the second half and had a vintage moment at the Garden, which we're all used to, I'm sure, as Knicks fans. So I feel like right now, you look at the situation the Knicks are in, I'm excited to see where we're at in terms of figuring out how to win basketball games without the captain. And I think that's the biggest thing that I'm taking away from this Knicks basketball team. And I talked about it earlier, but I feel like there is some type of silver lining with this Jalen Brunson injury. Now, listen, nobody wants JB hurt. That's not my point. But with him injured, with him sidelined, the one thing that I'm noticing is this Knicks team is going to have to adjust and figure out new ways to win basketball games that when Jalen Brunson does eventually come back for the New York Knicks, I feel like Mikal Bridges could potentially find new life. Deuce McBride could potentially get more confidence now when he goes back to the bench. And my point is, now that Mikal Bridges realizes he's got to step up his game, now that Deuce McBride realizes, okay, I'm the starting point guard right now, I'm going to get a lot more playing time. Maybe he gets into more of a rhythm. And then Cat taking on more of a leadership role. With those types of roles increasing, when JB returns for the playoff run, that could bring more of this team together. Another thing I really love about this is the Knicks are dealing with adversity. I mean, it is an absolute stab in the heart to have your captain go down the way that he did against the Lakers. And the Knicks could do one of two things. They can either just cry about it and point fingers like, all right, well, we can't win without Jalen Brunson, right? They lost against the Clippers, and without JB, they could have said, you know what? JB's not here. We're not good enough to do anything. They could have done that. Or they come together as a team and they keep instilling confidence in each other, keep that belief, keep the camaraderie, and face adversity and overcome it. And that's exactly what we're seeing from this Knicks basketball team, which is an absolute joy. Let's be honest. What made us super excited about the season coming up for the New York Knicks wasn't just Jalen Brunson. There was all the players around him to be pumped up about. Getting Mikal Bridges over the summer, signing OG Anunoby long-term, trading for Karl Anthony Towns, having Josh Hart on this roster. And that is why the Knicks are a very exciting basketball team to be excited about. If you're a Knicks fan, I really think there's nothing to be nervous about as we go on the rest of the season, because I know that the injuries are starting to pile up and we're seeing JB go down and some players are fighting through injuries. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to see what this Knicks team looks like for the rest of this season and for the rest of the games while we wait for JB. Now, you look at the schedule going up against the Golden State Warriors on Saturday, and then we're back home against Miami, San Antonio, Charlotte, Wizards, Dallas, Clippers. Like, the schedule does lighten up a little bit after we're home from this West Coast trip. And I think it's up to the New York Knicks to make sure that they figure out a way to finish off on a high note. And if they can come away from this road trip 3-2, and they could beat the Warriors, that'll be a big plus. Now, the Warriors are playing very good basketball. We obviously matched up against them at MSG on March 4th last week, and we were unable to come out on top with a W here. But if the Knicks are able to figure out a way to win without JB against Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and the new look Golden State Warriors, that's going to be a positive sign, man. That absolutely is going to be a positive sign. So you guys let me know your overall thoughts right now of the Knicks. As we stand right now, the Knicks are still in the third seed of the Eastern Conference right now, where it stands. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind here. The Knicks still have a pretty good cushion ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks are actually on a 3-game losing streak, and they are 36-28. The Knicks are 42-23. All right. So I love where the Knicks are at right now. We have like a 5.5 game lead over the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're tied with the Indiana Pacers. So I know that some people are worried about the Knicks falling to the 4th seed or the 5th seed now that Jalen Brunson is injured. How much can the Knicks win without JB? I look at the schedule. I know the Warriors game is going to be tough, especially against, Red Hot Warriors team right now. But I think we could beat Miami without JB. I think we could beat San Antonio without JB, and Charlotte and the Wizards and Dallas. Rematch against the Clippers. I feel like you look at the schedule, there's a lot of winnable games here on the schedule without Jalen Brunson. And the good thing is, too, apparently, the Knicks are very optimistic about a Jalen Brunson return sooner than we expected. Initially, it was a high ankle sprain, could be out to the playoffs. A lot of pessimism amongst the Knicks organization. But as of right now, where it stands, the Knicks can actually feel like they have an opportunity to get Jalen Brunson back for the playoffs. I mean, let's be honest, folks. The playoffs is right around the corner. It's pretty much, March 13th today, and then the last game of the season is April 13th. So a month from today is the final game of the regular season for the Knicks against the Brooklyn Nets, and then a week after that is when the NBA postseason tips off, which is going to be very exciting. But another thing about this Knicks team to be excited about as well, not only is Mikal Bridges absolutely having his vintage moment, but OG Anunoby and this entire Knicks organization, it really feels like they're playing very good basketball together. And like I said, them dealing with adversity with JB going down is going to teach them a gigantic lesson, all right? You look at how they played basketball last night. It was a really interesting game. I mean, talk about that game last night against Portland. Back and forth, thrilling action with this Knicks team. But they were still able to come out on top and get the job done. And if you're a Knicks fan, you should be very proud of this Knicks team being able to handle adversity the way that they're doing it. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. And you look at all of the highlights that Mikal Bridges has done last night, that should give you a lot of excitement, man. And I'm going to put the highlights on the screen real quick because I feel like Mikal Bridges deserves to be talked about. He really does. He deserves to be talked about more often because I feel like there's too much slander, in my opinion, on Mr. Mikal Bridges, in my opinion. I mean, you look at what Mikal Bridges has done so far in his NBA career with the New York Knicks. I just feel like Knicks fans are a little too harsh on him. I mean, I'm not trying to baby the man, but you look at what he's done to this point, I feel like Mikal Bridges has done a tremendous job with this Knicks team. Absolutely. And talking about Mikal Bridges, there has been, of course, that big report that came out that according to, some of the reporters, Mikal Bridges went to Tom Thibodeau. It's like, hey, I like to take some less minutes, if you don't mind. He deserves more time. I understand that is definitely something to look at and look into, but I feel like Mikal Bridges has played every single game so far this season, every single game, and him asking for less minutes, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to whine and be like, oh, he's soft, bro. Why is he doing this? Why is he asking for less minutes? Like, I don't find that too big of a deal. I really, really don't. I really, really don't. And you see what he was able to do last night against the Portland Trailblazers. 33 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, 13 of 21 from the field. And the cool thing about Mikal Bridges, too, is we've never really seen Mikal get this type of opportunity shooting the rock, right? I feel like he's only shooting 10, maybe 13 shots a night. But now with JB sidelined, he knows, okay, I got to get to my spots. I got to facilitate the rock to my teammates. I got to go out there and make some plays for this team in order to win. And he's got a lot of talent, folks. And I feel like we never really got to see the full arsenal of Mikal Bridges yet on this Knicks team. You look at what he did with Phoenix, of course, more specifically on the Brooklyn Nets, because Brooklyn did not have a number one option. He became that number one option and really thrived over there. And I feel like with JB, Cat, OG, there's a lot of mouths to feed in the offense. So it's been hard for Tom Thibodeau to adjust and figure out, okay, how can I feed Mikal Bridges and get him the rock and make him get into a rhythm? And I'm here to tell you with JB sideline, this could be what gets Mikal Bridges into a rhythm heading into the postseason. Let's be honest, folks. The really only thing that matters for this Knicks basketball team is the postseason. We want to be playing our best brand of basketball in April heading into the playoffs. And I've been very consistent with that. If you're a Knicks fan, you want this Knicks basketball team to start playing their best basketball right into the playoffs, because when you have momentum, that is when you can absolutely go out there and make some big-time plays and go on a deep playoff run. Now, like we talked about, the NBA standings is definitely in the Knicks' favor in terms of the Milwaukee Bucks are sitting there way below us in the standings, which is a very good sign. Very good sign. You see right here on the screen, the New York Knicks are the 3rd seed still, 42-23. All right. And I feel like if you're a Knicks fan, you should absolutely be on board with the idea that we're staying put at the 3rd seed, bro. Tell me you guys agree in the chat right now. I'm not worried. A lot of people are worried that the Knicks are going to fall to the 3rd seed, fall from the 3rd seed, excuse me, and get to 4th seed or something like that. I don't know, man. That I don't agree. I think that the Knicks are proving that they are able to win despite Jalen Brunson being out. And I know it's just 3 games. We're 3 games in without Jalen Brunson. But the game against the Los Angeles Clippers, that was the first game from a back-to-back. I'm not going to read too much into it. But you look at the standings right now. I mean, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're ridiculous. I mean, they've won 15 in a row. They're 55-10. Wow, they are red hot. And the Boston Celtics at 47-19. The Knicks are right there, bro. 42-23 on the season. And Milwaukee, like I told you guys, if you scroll all the way to the right here, they've lost 3 in a row. So that's given the Knicks a lot of cushion. They're now tied with the Indiana Pacers. If the playoffs started today, the Knicks would be facing off against the Detroit Pistons in the first round. And the Detroit Pistons, I mean, I'm not going to say we're going to be able to, sweep them or anything. I got a lot of respect for Detroit, man. They are a very good basketball team, and I'm very excited to see what the Detroit Pistons actually look like just from an NBA basketball fan. It's good to see a team like Detroit that has been bad for so long finally good. Shout out to Cade Cunningham. But if the Knicks face off against them in the first round, that'll be intriguing. But then you look at the team right below the Detroit Pistons, who's also red hot with 4 wins in a row, the Atlanta Hawks. Now, it is a 5-game cushion. I don't really know if the Hawks are going to get that hot and the Pistons are going to fall. But can you imagine the Hawks get the 6th seed and it's a rematch of the Knicks and the Hawks in the first round of the NBA playoffs? Oh, my goodness. That would be crazy if that was the matchup for this New York Knicks team. So you guys let me know how you feel about the overall season for the New York Knicks. I know it is frustrating for the Knicks right now because I know some people are still holding on to the idea that we have not been able to beat any of the top teams. I get all that. Well, the way that we can prove that we can beat the top teams is by going into the playoffs and beating up on those top teams, man. That's how I look at it. Like, I'm not going to hang my head on the idea that the Knicks struggle against the elite until they go into the playoffs and lose. Okay, that's how I look at it. I understand that we're 0-7 against the top teams. That is a big narrative to talk about, but I'm not going to harp on it too much. That's my perspective of life in general. I'm not going to harp on the negatives. I'm going to focus on the positives, like this Knicks basketball team should be doing, and keep diving deep within this organization and figure out a way to get better and better as the Knicks season progresses heading into the postseason. Another thing that I've noticed, this Knicks basketball team is a completely different animal now with Mitchell Robinson as their player off the bench defensively. The Knicks as a defense has been playing phenomenal basketball as of late off the defensive side of the floor. And you see Deuce McBride starting. You see the defense. I mean, last night, Deuce McBride did not play well from an offensive standpoint, but from a defensive standpoint, he was tremendous. 4 steals from Deuce McBride, 2 block shots from Deuce. And then Mitchell Robinson also had 2 steals, 2 blocks. Mitchell Robinson had 18 minutes off the bench last night. And I feel like if you're Mitchell Robinson, man, there's a lot of exciting things about him because the more he gets healthy, the more he gets into a rhythm, the more he is going to get absolutely out there and play some really good Knicks basketball. And I feel like if you look at the potential and the upside of a guy like Mitchell Robinson, there's nothing but exciting things coming your way for Big Mitch. And I'm really, really excited to see his development with this Knicks basketball team because you look at the playoffs the last few years, whenever Mitchell Robinson's out there healthy, it is absolutely dynamic to see him out there thriving with this Knicks basketball team because it changes the whole look defensively, the presence. Everything about this Knicks team is completely different when Mitch is healthy. So I'm very excited about it, about him back. And I also feel like last night's game, it really shows you that if the Knicks can just figure out to get a win like that, this could really be a big deal of a gaining momentum. And I'm serious because it felt like the Knicks were about to lose that game when the Trailblazers got that shot with 3 or 4 seconds left. But when Bridges hit that dagger and you heard a double bang from Mike Breen, like those types of wins could really carry this season into some positive momentum. And I'm really, really excited to see how this team looks. And a really cool thing also that I want to point out is JB out there acting like he's one of us. I love that he's out there acting like he's one of us. And what I mean by that is you go onto X, you see Jalen Brunson live tweeting the games. I mean, how awesome is that? How awesome is JB live tweeting the games, man? I absolutely love that. He's like, yeah, Cal. I mean, Jalen Brunson is watching these Knicks games just like us at home, and he's live tweeting everything. You see him get upset with Josh Hart as well, which is hilarious. So I'm really, really excited about what this Knicks team is all about because Mikal Bridges' game winner is really something to be excited about because I really believe that these types of wins can gain some momentum for the rest of the season for this Knicks basketball team. So big shout out to our boy, Mikal Bridges, for the game winner, man. You see him on the inbound. What a play call by Tom Thibodeau, getting Mikal Bridges the ball off the inbound. A lot of people are saying that he traveled. I disagree with that. I'm not going to say he traveled. I mean, give me a break with that. Personally, I'm not going to start to go into that whole thing. But at the end of the day, I'm really, really excited and really fortunate to watch this Knicks team play because I feel like with Mikal Bridges playing the way that he's playing now, this Knicks team is dangerous. And not to mention, our boy Karl-Anthony Towns had a good game as well. Very efficient, did not take a lot of shots. And that's the cool thing about this Knicks team. OG Anunoby shot 20 times. Bridges shot 21 times. Cat shot 12 times. I mean, it's pretty crazy that Josh Hart had more shot attempts, right? Had more shot attempts than Karl-Anthony Towns. Josh Hart had 14 shots when Cat had 12. That is unbelievable. Shout out to my boy James in the chat. Much love to you, man. I'm really excited to see what this Knicks team looks like. I am very, very excited because we want this fan base, I'm talking to Knicks Nation, to rally around this Knicks squad, man. Because I feel like when adversity hits this Knicks team, we as fans need to come together and not get pouty and moany and emotional when things start hitting the fan. Because we need to make sure the Knicks players and the Knicks team does not have the same mindset as some of the fan base. And I'm not calling out Knicks fans. I mean, everybody's entitled to be a fan the way that they want to be fans here. But, like, I feel like this season is very special, in my opinion. And sometimes when things just go a little bit not the way you want it to go, whether it's losing to the top teams, having an injury or two, it feels like the sky's falling for some people amongst the Knicks Nation. And I'm here to tell you guys, don't do that. Because we have to have the same mindset of these players. Do we want Karl-Anthony Towns look in the mirror like, oh, JB's hurt and we can't win against any teams, I'm giving up? Like, no, we want him to rally the troops. And I also feel like Karl-Anthony Towns is embodying right now a new era of his Knicks career of a leader. Because without JB, who's stepping up to that leadership role? It has to be Cat. He's the co-star. And he's a really good co-star, by the way, being a starter in the All-Star game. So big shout out to Karl-Anthony Towns, man, because I feel like off the court, you hear him talk in the press conferences. He literally is saying, we got to get better. Even after the win against Sacramento, he said, we're not satisfied. Even a 30-plus victory against a team above 500 does not satisfy this team. And it shouldn't. Absolutely should not. So that's a really cool thing I love about this Knicks team. It feels like there's so much players to be excited about for the foreseeable future. Another thing to keep in mind is OG Anunoby. He's playing a different version of basketball than we've seen as of late. I mean, he's tapping more into his offensive role in terms of all-around basketball. 23 points last night, 7 boards, 3 dimes, a block and a steal. He's shooting more. There's more volume. 8 of 20 from the field. I absolutely love that. And I feel like the more OG Anunoby gets comfortable shooting the ball and being aggressive, attacking the paint, finishing through contact, taking mid-range shots, creating his own shot off the bounce. Like, I feel like OG Anunoby, if there was one player on this Knicks team that I'd like to put the X factor on one specific player, it is definitely going to be OG Anunoby at 110% because I feel like he impacts this Knicks team in a way that nobody else does because he does everything. Defense, getting into the passing lanes. He's a demon on the defensive side of the floor. I mean, you try to score on OG, you're going to fail 9 times out of 10. And then now he's unlocking his game offensively. Ever since that game-winning shot he had a few weeks ago, man, OG Anunoby has been playing tremendous basketball. And I feel like there's so much narratives around the Knicks right now that I feel like a lot of Knicks fans are trying to just go against each other about, whether it's Tom Thibodeau playing too many people or too many minutes or whatever the case may be. But boy, oh boy, Jalen Brunson's injury provides a lot of interesting narratives for this Knicks basketball team. And to watch them rise to the occasion and watch them be able to face that injury and win the way that they're winning, it's inspiring, bro. It is absolutely inspiring to watch this Knicks team respond to this Knicks injury to Jalen Brunson. That's how I look at it, man. And you're seeing Deuce McBride out there hustling. Even if he's 4 for 12 from the field, he gets you 4 steals. He gets you 2 blocks. Tom Thibodeau is a coach right here that is adjusting on the fly. Losing his starting point guard is not an easy thing, man, because Jalen Brunson is not just the leader of this basketball team, but he is everything. He's the face. He is the franchise. He's the captain. So losing him is not going to be an easy adjustment. And I got to say, I'm very impressed to see how much they are adjusting on the fly. Like the way that they failed against the Clippers, the game after that Knicks game against the Lakers, the first game basically without JB, you could tell there was no game plan. They had no time to prepare. They're like, yo, I don't really know how to win without JB, right? But then they have 2 games of rest. Tom Thibodeau and the coaching staff went deep into the playbook, went deep into a game plan. Like, okay, without JB, who's going to control the rock? And we're seeing a lot of the Knicks play selfless ball. Josh Hart, 9 assists last night. Bridges with 4 dimes. Towns with 4 assists. OG with 3 assists. McBride with 5 assists. Like, they're facilitating. There's not one specific player that's controlling the ball. Like, even when Bridges got the most points, 33 points last night, it didn't feel like he was taking all the shots. Like, it was still a well-balanced effort. And that's something else I really love about this Knicks team is the balance. It feels like we're not depending on one guy. Bridges, it was his night last night. But on Saturday night, it could be Cat's night. It could be OG's night. It could be Josh Hart. That's what makes this Knicks team dangerous. You never know who is going to be the guy to go off and carry the load for this Knicks basketball team, for sure. And I feel like that is the Knicks' secret weapon, where you look around the NBA, there's not a lot of teams that have as many weapons as the New York Knicks. Now, of course, there are some that are better, like OKC, Cleveland, and Boston, and that's proven here. But I feel like that is something to keep in mind about this Knicks team is the overall balance, where when JB comes back, watch out. Now, the roots of this Knicks basketball team, which it will continue to be the roots until proven otherwise, is going to be the defense. Until this defense can be consistent, we're not going to go far. And I think that's very obvious. Last night, the defense showed up. I think it wasn't perfect, but to give up 113 points in overtime, I will take that against the Portland Trailblazers. Like, we held them to a pretty low percentage shooting-wise, 44% from the field. I feel like the Knicks did pretty good as a defense last night. Definitely room for improvement. It was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I limited them to 44 points in the paint, only 11 fast break points. And I feel like it was such a back and forth game last night. It was so interesting. And listen, we can't go deep into just that game against Portland and say the defense is back. Against the Sacramento Kings, the defense was tremendous. I mean, they held them to 104 points. Against the Clippers, even in the loss, they held them to 105 points. I think Mitchell Robinson's presence on this basketball court, even in limited minutes, you can feel the defensive identity coming back. And when you're in the NBA playoffs, that is really what separates the great teams and the elite teams and the good teams. And I feel like with Mitchell Robinson returned, he is absolutely changing everything from this Knicks team from a defensive capacity. And let me remind everybody, on a limited role, can you imagine when Mitch is fully ready to go? 20 minutes a night, 25 minutes a night, maybe 30, who knows? That's when this Knicks team is dangerous, because when Mitch is on the court, it is an absolute mismatch for these teams to try to go into the paint, because you're seeing Mitchell Robinson also very quick on his feet, switching, long, getting into the passing lanes, being ferocious, protecting the paint. And it's only a matter of time until Mitch really gets into rhythm and starts dominating, because I feel like the NBA world forgot how good Mitchell Robinson is and is reminding everybody every single game. Now, I don't know if there's an exact update of when we can expect Jalen Brunson back, but I do feel like whenever that does come out, it's going to be a big deal, because we definitely need that to happen. We definitely need that to happen. And I feel like with Mikal Bridges requesting with less minutes, I definitely feel like that was a little bit overblown in terms of the storylines around this Knicks team. And I get it. I totally get it. But hey, I love how he said that. And then he goes out there, plays. How many minutes did he play last night? In overtime, might I add, 40 minutes or something like that? Yeah, 40 minutes total. He would have played 35 if they did not go to overtime, which is a little bit less than what he's been playing. But I feel like with Mikal Bridges asking for less minutes and then him go out there and do what he did, that's just absolute cinema. Absolute cinema, man. And I feel like this Knicks team deserves a lot of credit for the way that they're handling themselves, because I feel like some people look at the standings and take it for granted a little bit too much. I mean, give me a break. We're 42-23. When was the last time you looked up at the standings and the Knicks were that good? I know last year we had 50 wins. We were the second seed and all that. But it's been a long time since the Knicks have been this consistent as a basketball team. And I feel like the defense is getting better and better as the season goes on. The Knicks right now are putting up 117.1 points per game. That's more than Boston, by the way. Just saying. But the Boston Celtics, they give up 4 less points per game as a defense. So that's really the difference right here is the defense. You look across the Eastern Conference, the Knicks have the highest scoring offense in the East just behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs are just on another level. They're putting up 122 points per game. The Knicks are not going to be able to match that whatsoever. But the Knicks are actually third in the NBA in scoring. And when it comes to opponents' points per game, the Knicks are 7th in the Eastern Conference in terms of giving up the most points. And Orlando is giving up the least amount of points per game, which is why they're still in the race for a potential. Actually, they're not, man. 30 and 36. I feel bad for Orlando. A lot of injuries going on for them. But I feel like you look at the Eastern Conference, the Knicks should be able to stack up against anybody. And I'm really, really excited to see them go up against these respective teams. So, folks, we're live on Bleacher Report right now. So make sure you guys go over to the great Bleacher Report app and download the app. I'm going to make sure that you guys show us some love and support on the great Bleacher Report app. I'm going to put the link right here on YouTube since we're live on YouTube at the same time. Click that link, folks. Come over to Bleacher Report and show some support because Bleacher Report has a Knicks show live every single day, weekdays, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. EST. I'm your host here Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Knicks Fan TV, CP the Franchise, the Knicks Legend is out here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So we got a lot of cool Knicks stuff coming your way here on Bleacher Report all season long. Heading into the postseason, I cannot wait to cover the postseason for the Knicks coming up. I feel like the Knicks have had a lot of experience in the NBA playoffs the last 2 years with JB, and the fact that JB is expected to return for the postseason. Last year was special, but I have something in me that feels like it's about to be even more special. I really, really do feel like it's about to be even more special coming up. And you guys let me know if you agree with that or not. Do you sense a special playoff run with this Knicks basketball team, or are you a little worried about how this Knicks team goes up against the rest of the Eastern Conference? I'm very optimistic, and I feel like there's reasons to be optimistic. I don't feel like I'm delusional with my optimism. I really don't. And if I am, call me out by all means. But at the end of the day, I don't think I am. I think you look at what the Knicks have done to this point, despite Mitchell Robinson being out majority of the season, despite OG being out for a certain stretch of games, Josh Hart being out for a stretch of games, Cat, now JB out. And now I feel like the Knicks are healthy for the most part. And when JB gets back, let's hope that as we go into the back end of this month of March, heading into the month of April, we start playing our best brand of basketball, because that's really when you can really tell if this Knicks team is built to go after the NBA playoffs and go on a deep playoff run. All right, folks, we're going to wrap up the show here on Bleacher Report. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here on BR. My name is Richie, and I'm really excited to keep on thriving here on the Bleacher Report app. Next time I'll talk to you guys, we have 2 games to talk about. This game coming up against the Golden State Warriors is going to be an interesting one, man, because if we can go into Golden State and beat those Warriors without Jalen Brunson, woo, that's going to be must-watch TV, folks. I absolutely cannot wait. Folks, the show goes on here on YouTube. As we're still live on YouTube, just ended the show on Bleacher Report. Appreciate you guys. And James Baker, just want to give you a big shout out. Again, man, this is a very kind, generous super chat from you, James. I really, really do appreciate that more than you know. He says, let's go, Richie. Keep going and believe in you. Well, that means a lot to me, James. I really do appreciate all the love that you show on this channel, man. James, thank you so much. And big shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I smell revenge game against the Warriors, says Nelly Nell. I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. And if you guys want to check out BetUS, they got a lot of options for the Knicks right here on BetUS Sportsbook. You can predict NBA playoff specials. They got a lot of interesting ones. Will the Atlanta Hawks make the playoffs? Will the Bulls make the playoffs? The Warriors, Clippers, Heat, Timberwolves, Magic, Suns, Kings. They don't have Knicks odds on here because I think it's a given that we all know the Knicks are going to make the NBA postseason, folks, which I absolutely love to see. The Wizards are taking on the Pistons tonight. We got Kings versus Warriors, Lakers versus Bucks, which would be an interesting game. The Bucks are on a little downward spiral right here. They got cool prop bets on BetUS. Receive a 150% bonus on your first deposit, folks, on your first deposit. Big shout out to BetUS, as always, for sponsoring Knicks Media. My guy, James, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, man, I feel like there's so much to be excited about with this Knicks team, and I'm really, really excited to keep going and watch this Knicks team get revenge against Golden State. They better get revenge. How about it? Get the revenge, Golden State. Oh, boy. We got to get that revenge against Golden State on Saturday. You guys let me know if you feel like we will. I see Kat dropping 30 and 10. Mina and Mikal and OG dropping 20 plus, and Deuce and Hart dropping 10 plus, and we win. Noah, love that. Draymond Green is BBQ chicken. I love it. James, back in the chat, my guy. My guy. Absolutely love it. Tricked us. I was signing off on Bleacher Report. That's why it seemed like I was ending the show. But I wanted to go live for a few more moments here on YouTube because I do appreciate you guys, and I appreciate all the support, all the love that you guys keep showing me here on YouTube. Love you guys. I'm going to wrap it up here, and I will see you guys over the weekend for Knicks Warriors. Peace out, folks. I'm actually out this time. Love you guys, and a shout out to BetUS as always. Peace.